You're
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
We're in the Middle East. Let's do things on time.
Tell me before the alarm gonna go off. Go for
Makes
it.
sense.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so we're live and we're also recording.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us live from around the world, and a warm welcome to those who will watch later. My name is Dora Bender, and on behalf of the Democracy and Federalism Hub, I'm delighted to moderate this special and timely event. The question today: what does a new path for the Middle East look like? A path that moves beyond the cycles of conflict and toward a future of mutual understanding and cooperation. This important conversation will explore the book, The Abrahamic Revolution by Tom Wegner. So please join me in welcoming our panelists for tonight. We have Elias Naassri Baboun, a dedicated peace activist and an author from a Palestinian Christian background. And of course, we have Tom Wegner, the Israeli author whose work have brought us all together tonight. Over the next hour, we will dive into the ideas presented in the Abrahamic Revolution, ideas about shared heritage and a future built on dialogue. We are also thrilled to be joined by some surprise speakers from across the Muslim world who will add even more deepen our discussion. So we will start with Tom tonight. And Tom, can you please share with all of us what inspired you to write the Abrahamic Revolution?
Well, after October 7th, we saw the beginning of a new dialogue in the Middle East between intellectuals, thought leaders, scholars, religious leaders, political leaders. I think it became very obvious that the Middle East is not stable. We are already 2 years into a regional war, and people that are looking forward were trying to find another way. And we started talking on the broad sense of this term. I think we had few dozens up to hundreds of regional conversations involving many thinkers and many perspectives. And basically, we were trying to find a new formula that could work. And first of all, I should say, and maybe we will elaborate afterwards, that we saw that the old formulas, they don't work. And they can't work, and there are very good reasons why they won't and they haven't worked. But when we think about a new formula, we should ask ourselves what worked in history. And we have two answers. And when I say we, I think that my book is concluding many conversations with many regional thinkers that basically understand that the solution should be regional. It cannot be a solution that is limited to this framework of what's been referred to as the Holy Land, because the problems are not only in the Holy Land. And we can see that as Israelis, we're fighting in 8 or 9 fronts, that some of them are unrelated to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the other thing, which is to me very significant, that the solution cannot be only political. We cannot come up with just a map, just a political solution, just some sort of formula or an agreement that the leaders will sign, because the leaders are basically, even if we're speaking about countries in the Middle East that are non-democratic, the leaders must follow the people to some extent. And if the people are radicalized, so the leaders cannot do unradicalize things. And cannot go towards normalization or take courageous steps towards peace because they don't have the political basis, because in the last dozens of years or so, there was no or almost no direct communication between the peoples of the Middle East. And the indirect communication was handled by media outlets or media influencers that sometimes are just not professional enough, but most of the times come with malicious intents, comes with intents to create incitement and division instead of creating understanding and sincere dialogue. And those ideas led us to what is the birth of what I call political Abrahamism, which is a new school of thought in the Middle East that can bridge between secular people, Jews, moderate Muslims, Christian, other religious minorities in the Middle East, on the basis that murder in the name of God or nationality should not be a part of the discussion, and that every nation in the Middle East or anywhere else has the right for peace, stability. And first of all, as a manifesto of political Abrahamism, the Abrahamic Revolution is coming to lay the foundation for a new intellectual dialogue in the Middle East that is not only focused on the future, but also in the past, because the past also has some answers and is reaching towards shared narratives as a tool to create common ground and understanding, and to create a shared Abrahamic identity, which is much needed to this region, in the same model that the European identity was created after centuries of wars between the nations, but not as something that came to replace national identities, but rather to bridge them, because the European identity doesn't contradict or trying to replace any national identity, but it's not something that happened by mistake. It was developed with a lot of intentions and with political decisions, to the extent of having a regional singing contest like the Eurovision that create European awareness, to the extent of having a regional football championship, and to the extent of having a European Parliament. So on one hand, the Abrahamic Revolution comes to say to the West in a very direct manner that the Western plan is detached from the reality of the Middle East, and we just can see how it's been implemented on the ground. And it's I should say, it's very much different than the European vision for Europe itself. Because what worked for Europe was, first of all, defeating the aggressors, afterwards creating de-radicalization as a concrete effort, afterwards creating a political framework which was regional, with the regional parliament, with the confederation, with political structures such as European elections that created a more stable organism, and of course the entire identity issue. So on the other hand, we are not Europe. Jews and Muslims in the Middle East has a shared narrative that is very old, that some of it is religious, and we can also see that when we delve into the interfaith dialogue, we can achieve many agreements and create a new Abrahamic dialogue between the clergy on both sides. And on the other hand, we can see that creating a dialogue is involving new ideas, and it's rehumanizing both sides after a long term of dehumanizing. And I think that what we can see concretely is that we had a revolution, we had a technology revolution that was basically happened in the time of the COVID and changed the way we interact and we work as people. Today we meet on Zoom. That's something a bit new for humanity that wouldn't happen before the COVID. But most of the times the dialogue in the Middle East, it stayed where it was. It was always happening, but it was happening in 5-star hotels or between people in suits, diplomats, official representatives, etc. It wasn't happening between the people. And in order to be a stable region, the people must start speaking to each other. And we have to define this conversation. We have to define the narratives of the conversation above politics. And I think that this is what the Abrahamic Revolution is trying to achieve in creating a manifesto of a new movement that is especially much needed. And I think that my friend Elias will reflect on that. It's even more needed and called for in the Muslim world than on the Israeli side, because what we can see in the Muslim world is an unnatural situation politically, where we have, on one hand, we have political Islam, which is the radical Islam, with all its organizations, network, very clear identity, very clear infrastructure, very clear messages. On the other hand, well, you can say that we have the Arab mainstream, but it's not something that is specifically contradicting political Islam. There are many moderate Muslims who basically think opposite to political Islam on most issues, but they're having a very hard time to describe themselves as a political current. There's not even a name for the opposition of political Islam. And political Abrahamism is a possible solution for that problem. It's a school of thought that can gather the moderates in the Islamic world that do not wish to turn anyone and everyone to the same Muslim identity that is very rigid, and to unite them with other people that are seeking for freedom in the Middle East, like many minorities, like the Israelis, to create a new alliance and a new dialogue. I should add, before I'll get you back to you, but I should add that I was very surprised from the reactions that I start receiving from the Muslim world on the Abrahamic Revolution, which in the end of the day is an Israeli book, a Zionist book, written by an Israeli Jew that reflects Israeli perspectives. But I was interviewed on the book by the Lebanese reporter Maria Ma'alouf, and it was featured in the Moroccan press and received many blessings and reactions from Syria and Iraq and many intellectuals from the area. I think that my friend Elias also have some reflections about it. And I hope that it can be the starting point of a new regional dialogue, because we had some dialogue, insufficient dialogue, between Jews and Arabs, between Israelis and neighboring countries, but we never had a real regional dialogue. And I think we should try it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really timely manner right now with all the challenges that we are facing. You truly bring something that have been discussed in the past. And right now, I think this is the time actually to move it forward to create a better future for us. And I truly personally believe in regional solution, that this is truly the right path to go. And I want to give the opportunity for Elias, my dear colleague, to go ahead and share your thought, please.
Yeah, good afternoon for all. I think the most problem was in the past solutions, such the two-state solutions. They think in everything, in every small detail, but they postpone the religious question to the final stages. And as here, our area, either between the river or the sea, or from the river to the river, is a unique area that you will never find anywhere in the world. For that, any dress that is suitable for any country to dress will not fit with our needs. And we see that the old traditional way to resolve the cause of the Israeli-Arab conflict is not working. And we see that till today, till this hour, till this minute, the war is there, which means it is why they give up. They don't have any other new tools that can bring people together. We think the common issue between the different people or differences is the religious issue. And as we are talking about the humans are something, not angels. And humans, the humans need something special. For that, we believe that the religious component is something comprehensive that include all sort of rights, all sort of religious rights, and also political rights, and including the human rights. So we see that those who try to resolve the Middle East, North Africa question, they don't find the real key to resolve this continuous suffering and violence. We believe that there is a lot of common issue through religious clusters. And if we look in the books, we understand a lot. There is a lot of treasures inside the books. But as most of the people are occupied with their own time to bring living or day-to-day work, they are not able to read the books. So they start to take information, which is quite bad or wrong information, from different resources, such political leader or religious leaders that give wrong information and they start to spreading out it without returning to the original text or something like that. You can see the word can be translated in different way. And sometimes you mean a bad thing by a good will. So you cannot discover until you go inside and dig the books, and you could find a lot of things that a religious issue will gather the people rather than political and war. And it is costless. You can see how the war are consuming a lot of budget, people lives, resources, and other things, while a spiritual issue, it is common for all, everyone can obtain, and it will bring peace. For that, we have to declare that Abrahamic principle can apply to say that, yes, we are the Jews, people are in the same time white, Christians, and Muslims. And every one of the Christians will say, yes, we are Christians, but our heritage comes from Jewish references, so we are also Jewish and in the same time Muslims. The Muslims themselves, they have in their book and the Quran a lot of things for both past religious issues, and nobody knows that. We are the wise people must let the people see it from the other side and to understand there is nothing to kill each other for it. We can find a lot of things with modern tools that can resolve the conflict, not by a military ways or means. The stupid, sorry for this description, who don't find other alternatives, they find just the military speak or military language, which make big damages, while thinking and practicing spiritual issues will make safe, peace, calm, cool environment that anyone belong to one creator, one God. So the common between us that we are all trusting one creator. So if we are saying we are Muslims, if you dig in the book, that Muslim mean you are obeyed, you are giving yourself to God in Arabic, which means you are surrounded to God, you are obey to God. The bad information that takes everywhere that Muslims, that mean radicals, killing, stones, rockets, bullets, but actually this is not the real Islam. This is the cover, the conflict or the violence. They use this Islam as a cover to cover their ambitions in power and wealth and taking large area. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elias. Tom, I wanted to ask you something. I'm very curious. I know that you're working for a while on that path, and I was wondering, what did you find very effective in your work promoting this idea? And what are the steps that we can take for us as a group, as a society, to transition into this way or path of thinking?
Well, first of all, I think we should be talking. We should be talking more. We should be talking not only on the problems, because I think that what's not being said over here is that usually the approaches that are trying to figure out this conflict are very, I would say, Western, male, and professional. So almost technician. So basically the approach is to create some sort of engineerical solution, some sort of a map, some sort of a plan that people will sign, and in one single signature, it will resolve the situation. I for myself, I don't think it's possible. And I think that this is where we're getting into the deep cultural differences between East and West, because and Elias was speaking about basically the interfaith dialogue. And I, as a secular man, I would like to stress that the interfaith dialogue on the religious level is taking us to amazing places, because I've seen it happening with rabbis and imams sitting in closed rooms, reaching accordance, creating common ground, and it's working. But many of the people of the region are secular. And even if we're speaking on a secular basis, and this is something that I think is very special, we have popular understanding on both sides that we're in a family quarrel. And one don't have to be religious to recognize it. When secular Jews meeting Arabs, they say cousins. When secular Arabs meeting Jews, they say cousins. Okay, sometimes it's with spite, but still, we recognize that we have family ties. This is a consensus between the two people. And this should be a good common ground to start handling the situation like families do. And you know, Dora, in the West, sometimes families are after a situation where to the Western eyes it looks finished. Okay, that we will say, go get divorced, there's no way to resolve it, your quarrel has gone overboard, you spoke to each other in a too dismissing way or humiliating way, you hurt the children, you know, the quarrel is already too big to be figured out in Western eyes. But in the Middle East, things works differently. And families can arrive to places that are very, very hot. And to be honest, we killed our children. We killed each other's children. And it really doesn't matter for this conversation who started, who done it on purpose. Every mother is grieving for her children. And if we will start thinking about how to resolve it as family, we will understand that families don't resolve this situation with some sort of legal agreement and something that is coming with a plan and a border. No, they have to start speaking. So in the Middle East, even when situations look to the Western eyes completely doomed, sometimes the aunt is calling the niece from the other side, and she tell, listen, I've done you your favorite food, come over and I'll do your hair. And they start to build from there, to remind themselves that they're family. And then they're at each other living room, and then they have dialogue, and maybe they don't resolve the exact issue that started the problem, but they they're going back to solving the problems as family. And I think that this is what we need. We need not to come up with the perfect map or the perfect solution, because it just don't exist now when the blood is boiling. We have to come out with the solution to how to gain contact with each other, how to start calling each other cousins back, but without the poison in the world. And that's what we're trying to achieve over here. A new Abrahamic identity that will, or maybe an old Abrahamic identity, because we're not creating anything new, we're just restoring, that will serve as a glue, and then it will enable a political solution. That a political solution can be done without it.
Yeah, you remind me over, we are very warm on both aspects, warm and loving and caring as a family, but we're also warm that we are using a lot of military and weapon today to actually ignite, to achieve what we desire. So this is truly inspiring. I would like to take that opportunity now. We have a very interesting audience today. And I would like to ask if anyone would like to ask a question or add or have any thought about.
But Dora, before
Yeah.
that, just to remind our audience that we are live on an Israeli YouTube channel, and some of the people on the crowd are from countries that don't have relations in Israel, and it might reflect on them. So before you speak, please consider that you are live on a YouTube, on an Israeli YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you. I see you, Ben. Ben, do you want to speak?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. If you can introduce yourself real quick as well, okay?
Okay. First of all, I'm Ben Malov. I'm a lecturer at Bar-Ilan University in international relations and conflict resolution, specializing primarily in interreligious approaches to a Jewish-Arab dialogue. I've been involved in this area from the point of view of a researcher and practitioner for about 30 years. In fact, I welcome your book, Tom, because I just published a book a few months ago entitled Approaches to Jewish-Arab Interreligious Dialogue and Peace-Building Theory and Practice, which, from my own perspective, but I think that we run on parallel tracks. I just wanted to add maybe one or two thoughts from my book, which maybe complement your, your approach. And I also endorse very much Elias's element. First of all, I agree with you. The infrastructure of the conflict, the foundation, is religious. I have a chapter in the book that talks about the religious basis of the Arab-Israeli conflict. But religion can and needs to be a bridge, in my own empirical work in that way. And you've seen, from what I understand, your own elements. And I think you made a very good point that you don't have to be religious to be involved in the interreligious dialogue, because it's a cultural foundation. It's not just talking about this ritual or that ritual. It's about talking about identity. There's religion, culture, and identity, and they're all linked. And secular people also have, identity, but it's rooted in religion. Second of all, I use Huntington's approach very much, the clash of civilizations. But his sort of conclusion is, how do we deal with the clash of civilizations? He talks about civilizations finding commonalities with each other. And that to me has been very useful. If I have a class, Jewish-Arab interreligious dialogue, so if I see it as a social laboratory, if they find common ground and create new perspectives on each other and relationship transformation, that is an example of creating those commonalities. By the way, even Netanyahu talked about the need for a rapprochement between Islam and Judaism. So, at least declaratively, it even exists in the Israeli government. Finally, I would just like to say that I don't think, but I think we have to be sort of careful not to fall into the opposite track. In other words, we're coming from the point of view that religion has been neglected. Religion is a neglected element of Arab Jewish peace building, but I don't think we should just dismiss everything else that's been done. We do have the we do have the Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty. We have other elements. So we have to be part of an array of elements, but not go into our own, one-dimensional perspective. And in any event, I applaud your work, and I'd be delighted to have our own little dialogue as well.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Tom. Go.
Yes, so of course, as you said, the basis, I don't know if I would even call it interfaith dialogue when it's coming to the secular field. It's, to some extent, it's an inter-identity dialogue, but very strong rooted. And I would like to suggest that it's even more complex than we see it on the ground, because basically there's one set of narrative that I think that most people in the Middle East are already aware at least in the shallow level. When we say Abraham, when we say Abrahamic, it's already says something in the Middle East today. But first of all, the depths into it, and we're digging, we find gold. Like times in history in the Middle East, the Jews and Muslims coexisted, wrote books together to bridge between their faiths, had even a political system that integrated Jews and Muslims in a very structured way in an era that called Israelia in the Middle East, that was mostly forgotten, but still have the potential. The past showed the potential for the future. And I think that on another level, what we start to see, which to me was very surprising, that we have the Abrahamic narrative that is a main bridge between mainly Jews and Arabs, but we also have other bridges that are buried narratives in the Middle East. For example, the Christians in Lebanon, that usually, or some of them, or some of the Maronite community, they won't describe themselves as Arabs. They don't see themselves as sons of Ismail. They see themselves as part of the Phoenician heritage. And the Abrahamic narrative is not a part of their legacy the way they see their legacy, but part of their legacy is that their forefathers sent the cedar trees to help to build the temple in Jerusalem, the second temple. And that's something that in their identity, it exists in their folklore, it exists in our folklore, and it's creating a bridge. And in other parts of the Middle East, the bridge is not Abraham, but it's Cyrus the Great, that is a great connector and a shared narrative between Jews or Israelis and the Iranian nation or nations and the Kurdish nations who do not see themselves as sons of Abraham genetically and culturally, but they share Cyrus as a joint point and vision with Israel and the Judaism. And we can continue. There are parts in the Middle East that Solomon or Suleiman or Melech Shlomo is a part of their heritage in Northern Africa and even parts of, I would say, middle of Africa. And they have their own folklore about King Solomon that makes them feel connected to the entire regional narrative. So sometimes we can build bridges between people when we speak about shared future. But actually, most of the conflict has deep roots in the past. And I think that part of the problem is that we are in disagreement on the past. And if we have disagreements on the past, to the extent, for example, that many Muslims, or even the majority of Muslims, would deny any linkage between Jews to Israel, historically. How will they accept us living here if they don't recognize that we have some sort of rights to live here? So we have a lot of work to do in terms of creating the regional dialogue and understanding, and I thank Ben for his valid points, and I hope to do catch up sometime and to get to know your work as well. And I see that we have more raised hands.
And I just wanted to mention something. The Abraham Accords, the actual Abraham Accords, was a game changer, in my opinion, because it gave the basis of at least implied legitimacy to the Jews in the Middle East. And that really is the sticking point, as you implied. You know, the Jews have a legitimate place in the Middle East. Once we have that, because we're the odd player out, you know. So that's why it's a game changer, the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Tom. Let's move to Jasmine. Please go ahead and introduce yourself. Okay, thank you. You're on mute, Jasmine. Yeah.
Now? All good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, first of all, for this interesting webinar and also for sharing this very important perspective. I'm Yasmin. I'm the director of Forum 1325. And we do a lot of work on regionality, actually. So it's interesting to see the intersection. My question here actually revolves around that. So do you see a role, and if so, what role for women in this idea of, you mentioned this kind of liberalization or democratization of people-to-people discussions? I wholly agree. And personally, we have our perspective on how women can participate, but would be wonderful to hear not only in Israel, but also in other states in the region, what that looks like. Is there room for more integration of women, especially at a higher level? So not just people to people talking, but also political negotiations and agreements. Is there a place for that in the near future?
Elias, do you want to refer to that, or you want me to refer to that? You are mute.
I will try to say something. Actually, Yasmin, you see that we give the leaders a lot of chances. I believe that we have to let the people themselves to talk each other. The problem in the past attempts that the leaders has talking together in closed room and they agree on something for their interest without taking the interests of the people. For that, and actually they make a lot of investment in the project. Some projects are with corruptions, so they were occupied how to gain results from the peace agreement. And they forget an important element that they have to make some sort of percentage of the investment or budgets to take a chance that the people talk to each other. And from the past, there is no real project that brings people together. And if there is some sort of project like a project with the NGOs, they were prohibited. Nobody tried to be involved in it because the political leaders and the religious leaders say this is a devil. You don't have to approach it. So the people are afraid to be real involved in such projects, which can result zero result. But you can see that when you are saying normalization, it is equal as a devil. But nobody knows that normalization is something to live normal as a normal human being. We need to be normal. We need to be human. We need to be a normalization between all our neighbors. If I am not in taking care of my neighbor, sooner or later, he will start throwing me stones. If I don't hear from him, he will throw me bullets. If I don't know him, he will shoot me with rockets. If I am happy, well, that means that my neighbor is happy. For that, we have to take in consideration what our neighbors need. We cannot build a fence and we say, go take your care, take your important work alone. I don't care. The powerful neighbor must take attention for the weak neighbors, and there will be a mutual changes between the nations. This is the real peace. Now I think we have the Egyptian peace treaty, as Ben had said. It is good, it is from the 70s, but I believe most of the Egyptians are more hate Israelis than ever today. Why that? Because they get wrong information and they see just soldiers with weapons killing here and there. So we need to concentrate now on people rather than political. After the people are already ready, we said to the political ones, we are agreed on that. You have to follow it. You have to sign it. Otherwise, we will not reach nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, do you want to add information?
You know, to me, it doesn't matter if you're speaking about woman, person of color, man, retired, people who are retired, pensioner, or young people. Everyone should be a part of the regional dialogue. Because in fact, if you look at the regional dialogue that exists today, in the Arab-speaking world, everyone are a part of the regional dialogue. It happens on social media, it happens all over the place, and everybody are a part, except Israelis and Turks and Iranians that are a separate story. But we don't have the luxury of saying, oh no, you will take part of regional dialogue. Oh no, now the women, now the men, now you have to start. No, we all have to be a part of regional dialogue on all the popular level. Now, after saying that, it's obvious to me that still the dialogue should be specific. Because if a group of women will meet from both sides, we will receive different dialogue than the one that will happen between men, and also than the one that will happen in mixed group. And all those dialogues have place, are needed and wanted. So we should be thinking about how to broaden dialogue on all vectors, meaning women to women, men to men, women to men, people who like football with each other, people who like to play music with each other, young people that have similar states in their lives. people on the same professional background. Why not putting together journalists or doctors from all the sides in the same room? Let them speak. Good things will happen. It's almost certain. Okay.
I think just maybe
the answer.
Yes, I think just to clarify I wholly agree. First of all, I want to say, but to clarify the question a bit, there is a challenge and an opportunity in women participating. I think historically we know that first of all, both in Israel and Palestine, and I think in different countries in the region, we can find women's participation and involvement, including in politics. There is a challenge to it. Sometimes it's a cultural challenge or a religious challenge, and that is one part of it. And I think the opposite is that sometimes it's harder if men are speaking, then it's politics. And if women are speaking, it can have like a little bit more of a softer, I don't want to generalize too much, but sometimes there's potential in building these ties in a kind of different context that might not necessarily be so this is what I was wondering, if there's any talk about this, if there are any perspectives that
so regarding that, I implied before, I think that's what needed, because I think that speaking from above, the male energy or the male methods or the male approach it's just not working. Okay, we see that all the time. So people are coming in, they put on the glasses, the thinking caps, their diplomas, and they start drawing a map, and it's a new map and new ideas, but still the people are not there. The people are in a hostile place. And I think that the male academic super managerial approach doesn't know how to deal with the emotional situation. And we should tackle the emotional situation, because that's what's preventing first and foremost any sort of political progress. And I think that over here, I'm also making a generalization, of course, but more of female approaches, of not to come with the solution to the problem, but trying to create a bridge of conversation that might lead to a solution to the problem, but will remain a bridge, will create some sort of another energy that is not solution driven, that is
I would even say, I think I would say I would see it as a female managerial perspective, in a sense, so like a solution driven, but the way we look at a solution might be different. And not to say, I think what you're saying, more of everything is a good idea. So to have more perspectives, more integration of a variety, diverse voices from the region. Anyway, that already gives me a good
definitely, we must try new things, because the old things are not working.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for your thought and input. Now we have Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there. My name is Emmanuel Shachaf. I'm chairman of the Federation Movement, proposing a federation between Israel and Palestine in Eretz Israel. As opposed to some of the people here on the panel, I don't think that the problem is, or the conflict is of religious nature. Religion plays a big role in it, and it's being used by both sides to make the conflict intractable. But because it's so important, having a way of dealing with it, which is not really religious, with the Abrahamic code, so to speak, calling it Abrahamic, gives a lot of opportunities to work around problems. It's much easier for people to identify with something which is basically neutral. It's a neutral term for all the religions in the area. So it's a great way of working around the religious issues, because despite the interfaith dialogue, I don't trust the interfaith dialogues. They usually take place, and then there's some happiness for 2 days, and then everybody goes back into the corner. And with the Abrahamic approach, people can keep talking about it, and that's really, really good. So I'm all in favor, and I'm happy that Tom worked on this. And I have a question. Did you already? Are you looking at it for primarily as a social issue or a political issue, or both? Dealing with the Abrahamic Revolution.
Well, sociology and politics are so intertwined that it's a very hard question to answer in a yes or no.
Let me specify. You're proposing political solutions?
I'm proposing political solutions that are a part of a public awareness shift, okay? Because I think that political solutions are not possible today because of awareness shift, okay? If we will look at things, at least from my perspective, and I'm putting my glasses on the Muslim world right now, even that in Israel, similar things had also happened. The public sphere, the public awareness in the Arab-speaking world is being controlled by narrative handlers, okay, that are not neutral and are not promoting peace, but on the contrary, they're trying to promote a lot of incitement. And if you are a political leader, even if you are a king, okay, even if you are the king of Saudi Arabia, and it is my personal estimation that can be contradicted, the king of Saudi Arabia in the last 2 years had many interests and many attempts or points that he was willing to create normalization in Israel, but the people, his people are not on board, or some of them are not on board, or they're not yet on board in the right amount, okay? So even as a king, if he will try to take his people to a place that the people are not willing to go, because they were incited, because they see Jews as a diabolical enemy, okay? So he won't do it, and actually in real life he's not doing it. So I think that if we were in a government meeting, then we should have asked ourselves about the political solution, etc. But luckily enough, we're not. And we are in a public meeting. And everyone here, neither of us can change the political decisions by himself. But all of us can change the public awareness, and that will create room for different political decisions.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not speaking about sociology, but rather about the public opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Emmanuel, do you want to add anything?
No, thanks. That was a good answer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I know we have more audience, and I was wondering if anyone else would like to add anything, maybe from other countries. I know if you feel comfortable. Anyone?
I think that our friends from Syria and Iraq on the crowd, hello my friends, if they will speak, they will be shown on video, and I'm glad that they are here with us. It speaks for itself, but we don't want to jeopardize anyone. And I think that just to reflect a bit about what Emmanuel said before, So it's true. Most of the times we have a kind of interfaith dialogue that people are eating some cookies, okay, and they return back to their homes, and after 2 days, nothing changes. But I think that what we start hearing today is a different level of interfaith dialogue. On a few vectors of it. First of all, by stressing out that it's not limited to only to believers or only to clergy, because we are having some sort of interfaith dialogue over here between people that neither of them is rabbi or imam. And on the other hand, because as we said before, it's not only about religion, but also about national heritage. And I think that something very interesting that happens beneath the surface, and I think that people are not aware at all, but it's starting to be dramatic, is the change that happens regionally after the emergence of the self-DNA tests, okay? Because people from Saudi Arabia and Lebanon and Iraq and Yemen are, of course, in small numbers for now, but I would say for different kind of purposes, they do DNA tests and they get results saying you're 21% Jew, 26% Jew, 31% Jew, okay? And that changes awareness. It makes them think about their heritage and make them speak with their surrounding in a different way. And we're not speaking about religion over here. We're speaking about the combined history or the shared history of two people who don't have to believe in God to accept themselves as families. And I think that this is a change that will escalate because more and more people are doing DNA tests. It's more and more approachable, and it's happening on a very vast basis. And we can already describe, I'm quoting researchers that were done by the researchers Tzvi Massini, that is also using large quantities of genetic information that says, and it's not a big surprise to anyone because we know that we're family, but genetic tests, they prove it. And when people get the proof of it, many of them have a change of mind or a shift of heart that can create another level of interest and dialogue. And I think that this is something that will be more and more dominant in the next years. On one hand, the family dialogue, the dialogue that is also between secular about shared heritage, shared languages, for example, and on the other hand, interfaith dialogue that can turn into an interfaith bridge rather than dialogue, if you would listen carefully to what Elias said before, to the idea that is, by the way, the basis for our mutual book, for Elias and I book, The Unity of Believers, that is not yet launched in English, but was launched in Hebrew already, that basically suggests that Jews are Muslims. And it's suggesting this very revolutionarily or very disputed idea in a very structured and based way from the Quran, from the Bible, from the Holy Testament. Now, over here, I should say, I think there are 3 levels for this conflict. One is the conflict on the land the national conflict between Israelis and Palestinians that sometimes look like a zero-sum game. The other is the level of the conflict that is being held between intellectuals or between policymakers that is complex, of many issues, many things, the infrastructure, the sewage, the education, many topics. And the third level is between the people, and now we have dialogue between the people, but it's a dialogue of hatred. It's a very shallow dialogue that very resembles the dialogue, so-called dialogue, quote unquote, between fans of two football teams who are opponent to each other. So there is dialogue. They're communicating with each other, but it's based on curses and dialogue and violence. And since those two groups or football club fans comes from the same background and has a lot to do with each other, we should start the creation of the shared identity that will foster all the national identities in the region and create an umbrella for us to stand under the umbrella when it's raining, and it's raining.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I want to take this opportunity to move back to Elias. Do you want to add anything before we try to wrap up? Elias?
Yeah, actually, I would like to say to everyone who see this recording that you have to change your mind, that all concept that you have before, just postpone it 5 minutes and see with our glasses what is the other side. Now, all of us are tired and suffering from war, either in Gaza and Israel itself, and even in West Bank and the entire region. We see that the Yemeni, Iranian, and others, Syrian and Lebanon, is still involved in the fronts, killing each other. We need to let all of them to see the world with other glasses, with it, not the black glasses. It is a transparent glasses that you can see from it prosperity, economical revolution. You can see that they can make tourism, religious tourism, through the entire region. And you can see that people, by the end of the day, they can take a cup of coffee, they are rest, they are confidential of their lives or their children. Otherwise, we will not end this situation, because we can see that in the European part, they kill each other 2 times in the World War I and II. But after that, they are now in a peace and cooperated and integrated issue. We need to tell or to make a new dress for all of us, to dress it as an Abrahamic identity that can fit for everyone to dress it, because it is the common issue that combine all the entire region to become one entity that had a property on the entire region of the entire land, from the sea to the river, and even from the river to the river. This land is not our own. It is a God property. We are visitors here. We need to invest in this land. If we invest good, there is a good results and fruits. Otherwise, we will see just damages, war, and collapse of the modern life. Thank you all, and I hope this word will spread widely.
Thank you. I just want to ask Tom if you can share, please, if somebody want to actually purchase your book or follow your work, how they can find you.
Well, the Abrahamic Revolution is on Amazon. The link to it will be on the YouTube page with this recording, and I think basically you can search the Abrahamic Revolution by Tom Wegner on Google, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tonight, for this wonderful conversation. And I wish that this is a path that we can make this group stronger and we can spread this message. So thank you and have a great evening. Bye.
Thank all of you.